My name's Danielle. I'm 39. My dry date would be probably February 2012. So we're coming up on 9 years. Addiction for me has been something that has been a part of my whole life. So when I was 13, I started gambling. So I was working in a pharmacy and had access to lottery cards. And unbeknownst to me, that was something that would spiral into actually shaming, like it caused embarrassment on my parents, and lost my first job, potentially could have been charged, but taking pity on a young girl. And then that changed to stealing alcohol and bringing that to school. I remember doing that a couple times. I was about 15 and I got drunk in English class with one of my friends because I thought that'd be a great idea. 17, 18, 19. I don't even remember my 19th birthday. I don't know how I got home. I was just partying. It was just about drinking. Everybody was drinking. I'm going to hang out with everybody and just drink. And then weed got involved in that. And that's how I met my ex-husband. And we just had a crazy, violent, wild 10 years of a marriage. So really, to me, addiction is wrapped into the mental health that was not addressed and not supported or given resources to handle. So addiction just kind of masked that for me. It just rolled into self-medicating and running to run away and not face life and reality. So I met this guy and he actually was just so giving and free with his weed and his drugs that to me it was like, wow, this guy's cool because you just take whatever and he's sharing. And when really it's like he's sharing drugs, Danielle. But anyways, we got married. I was pregnant, and that was 10 years of domestic violence, crazy hell. It was hell. We ended up having 3 kids. Weed was involved in that. Alcohol was a regular, not so much for me once the kids came around. At least they provided some focal point, but definitely weed. And then later on at the end, it was pills. It was, hey, look, I found this drug, let's try perks, let's try getting high. And man, that makes you feel good, right? Like the drugs make you feel good. Your body feels good. I could clean my house. I had, energy to hang out with the kids, but the next day I didn't, and the next day I didn't. And then you have to get high again. And to maintain that level, you start really drug seeking and then that's not enough, the low level perks. So you got to move into like the hydromorphs and the oxycodones. And then you really get into opiates. Like you're just looking for the thing that's going to get you high. And my ex-husband and I, like sneaky conniving, we were stealing pills from people we knew who had them. We were stealing money to buy the pills for people we knew. And all this time trying to raise 3 young kids, right? And I'm definitely not proud of that. And when I look back now, it was survival. The pills, again, being addicted, having an outlet for running away from my reality. It masked all of the things that were wrong with my marriage, and it was making me able to cope to stay, because if I did this, I was on his level. If I did drugs, then there would be a fight that day, or if I did what he wanted, then we would at least be able to maintain a marriage. So around 2011, my daughter was 3, and it just hit me. How am I going to feed these kids? How is this life gonna keep going in this direction? And when you see opioids weren't doing enough, so then we got our hands on ecstasy. So ecstasy was something that was rolling in, and I kind of had that like knowledge that you just get deeper and deeper, because if the ecstasy wasn't available, then what's the next choice? What comes after that? Eventually leading to the hard stuff. So I remember waking up one morning, and we were doing like 80 milligrams of hydromorph and whatever else we could, but 80s were like the high end. And I remember waking up one day and I'd only gotten 3 hours of sleep, maybe, and I'm like, I have to get up and look after the kids. And it just hit me that enough was enough. And then that was enough for everything. Like, enough. I was done with my marriage. I was done with my addiction. I was done not putting myself first in a healthy way for my children, for the rest of my life and the rest of their life. So I just told my husband at the time, I said, that's it. I'm not participating in this anymore. I'm not finding finances for it. I'm not supporting you you're not spending the kids' milk money on. I put my foot down. I'm done. So I spent 3 weeks detoxing all by myself, sweated out, sicked it out, and I just ultimately wanted to be clean. And after those 3 weeks, I knew that I couldn't stay in my marriage because we were in such different places. So that was it. We had this one massive blowout. The cops were involved in a restraining order, and that led to 2012 and my divorce and being clean. And that's I've relapsed maybe twice with pills. Involving men. It's always involved men, which goes back to core addiction for me, has always been about seeking acceptance, and that I never really knew how to love myself. So in between all of the other drug addictions and the alcohol use, sex was a filler for me. So leading up to my marriage, I was really promiscuous, seeking, I wanted to be liked by guys. I thought that attention from them equaled love, sex equaled love. It was a whole bunch of misconstrued ideations of what I thought were good, healthy things, because, why wouldn't you want to, be intimate with somebody? And anyways, hold on, I'm collecting my thoughts. Okay, so prior to my marriage, I was promiscuous, got pregnant, ended up being married. After the marriage, I went back into that old habit of seeking self-acceptance through men and through relationships. And 2 of those men helped me relapse because it was accessible and it was tied into, well, I should do this because it makes us closer, or it will make them love me more. But that was fast. It was easy enough for me to recognize, like, that conscious part was in there. Like, Danielle, you did this already. Stop it. You shouldn't be in this place. But that never stopped seeking sex, seeking acceptance from men, using my body. I'm pretty sure I've gotten free weed from sexual favors, which is nothing, like, I'm not proud of that at all. It was like survival, but at the same time, at what cost? It was a cost of my body, my part of my soul and my spirit was given away every time. So about 2 years ago now, I realized that the addiction had been in lieu of mental health support and mental health resources. And my family didn't really believe in mental health, very fundamental Christian background. So a lot of the things that I was taught growing up didn't involve mental health advocacy. So about 2 years ago, I realized that I needed more help, that in this state of addiction to sex and seeking something else as a Band-Aid for not looking after myself and not looking within myself, I started going to therapy. I found a church community, and both of those things have saved my life. I I feel whole. I love myself. I'm 1 year celibate on purpose, conscious celibacy, so that I can get back to this space of being clean, being sober, loving myself, loving my children. And after 5 years of struggling through school and this aspect of seeking help, I am now at this stage where I'll be a nurse this year. I'll be an RN. So I went from a domestic violence marriage and addictions and growing through all of that and trying to find out what role would serve me and fill me up so that I didn't have to go seek those empty things anymore. And that was this journey of becoming a nurse. So in the midst of all of that was when I got my diagnosis for bipolar 2, ADHD, PTSD from my marriage, and that explains so much to me when I look back. The erraticness and big emotions and flying off the handle and all of those things that I did in my past through addiction were fueled by that underlying mania and underlying busyness that comes with ADHD and lack of focus and lack of accountability to that deep self that is really where you want to know, instead of hiding in there, instead of trying to hide myself, it was letting myself be free and being free whole without drugs and without outside influences, I suppose, without outside influences of telling me that I was unacceptable how I was. And at the height of my opioid addiction, I think I maybe weighed 115 pounds and I thought I looked good. And honestly, when I look back, I can see that I was sick. And that was one of the first things that triggered me into recognizing that I had a problem. Was I was walking the kids to school one day and my girlfriend looked at me and was like, are you sick? Are you okay? And I just kind of was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you are very skinny and you look like you're gonna die soon. And it just was like, oh my goodness. Well, she's right. She's right. If I don't stop this, what's gonna happen? And then there was another time when, in the midst of fighting with my husband, we went to my parents' house for dinner one time, and both of us were high, and that was the first time that I had considered killing myself through all of that chaos and addiction. And I thought that this was going to be my way out. And then I think of it's always the kids. I'm so grateful to have that foundation that they need me. And that pulls me back every time to pushing to be sober, to stay sober, to fight for our future. And now I have teenage boys who I'm watching go through the same struggles, watching them deal with their own life and their own trauma from their upbringing, and I just pray every day that they can see me as honest as they can see me, and knowing that their struggle will be their own, but I've done it before them. I've done it first, and I'm coming out on this end successful, and just to give that example to them for when it comes time for them to reflect on the things that they want to do with their life, and maybe not choose to go the route that their dad's gone, and especially for my daughter, because God forbid she ends up in a situation like I was, and feel like the only way that she can get out of a marriage is to pick up drugs. So really, my whole life story has been self-discovery and abandoning shame that's been put on me, and judgments that come from the outside like external people looking in, right? And I fought really hard to live through that shame. Some of the burdens I carry from my addiction include Sex addiction led me to have 2 abortions when I was in my mid-30s. That's old to have to go through those kind of irresponsible choices in life. So I carry that shame and those decisions with me. But it's not shameful for me because I can't let it be, because then I'll fall back into an addictive cycle of not loving myself and not being okay with the choices I've made. So essentially, I've learned not to judge myself first. I've learned that doing the hard things is the most rewarding. And the way that you get to learn yourself through doing those hard things is one of the most awesome ways you can come to know who you are and what you have to offer life, and how to live that life to the fullest. That all of those things in my life could have been a dead end. They could have been the end. They could have been the wall. But there's a reason that I'm still here, and there's a reason that I get to go forward and just love a bunch of people in my career, and just go be a giver instead of a taker like I've been all the years before. And I'm just really blessed to still be here, to have won all of those battles, to